I was able to bring this back, Henrik.
Yeah.
But I know that I saw. I know that I saw that history has a meaning, history has a purpose.
Yeah.
There is a plan. There is a divine plan, and we are all part of it. And the way this was conveyed to me was by seeing a series of incredible geometric shapes that were pulsating and actually seemed to be alive. And even though the shapes, just geometric, they somehow were giving me intelligence, that they were somehow showing me things that I know I couldn't possibly remember, but maybe, I mean, I was 11 years old, but maybe a little at a time I've been remembering. A little at a time I've been recalling.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying, you see, that I have the answers. I had, in that moment in between time and space, that moment of ecstasy and ineffability, I saw. And I've talked to others who had the experience, but you can't bring it back. You try to say, I know it's there, and what did I really see? And it doesn't come back, but maybe just a little bit at a time through dreams and visions, and especially when I'm sitting writing. You know, I'm sure the same is true with you, Henrik. You kind of go into a little altered state of consciousness when you're writing.
Absolutely.
I think every creative person does, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I certainly do, and you know that's very interesting to hear actually, because you know, do you think that this was do you think that this was the ultimate version of reality, so to speak, that you saw a glimpse of, and the world that we live in now is kind of, you know, it's the fractal holographic illusion of that source?
You know, Henrik, that proved right there the point I'm making. You just said it, because I had no idea what I had seen, or I hadn't seen anything like it until Sherry began researching fractal geometry. That's the closest I can say to what I saw.
Ah, interesting.
She began to use slides. She wrote to the scientists who were working with fractal geometry, and this was years ago. They were just beginning to work, and they were kind enough to send her some slides. And she had this intuitive that she should show these during her healing workshops. And it was astonishing, Henry. People who, I mean, they were, you know, I don't want to make it sound like, you know, faith healing revival.
No,
but people were receiving healings.
Of course.
People were, because she did a combination of showing fractal geometric slides with a combination of certain music and certain sounds all at once. And people were being healed. And the first time, because she'd been working on it, you know, she has her own office, and of course, and she was working. So I hadn't seen this. I hadn't seen the presentation. And I was there, and I nearly jumped out of my skin. And afterwards I said, honey, that's the closest I have seen to what I saw in that in-between. I call it, I went to the in-between universe. The in-between universe. And so that is exactly what I have concluded. That is reality, maybe as it appears to some level of intelligence. Then we bring it back, you know, just like Plato's analogy of the cave. We bring it back then to this three-dimensional world, and it has different form, it has a different shape, but that isn't what the original idea of it, as Plato spoke of, the Nuwa. That is not the original idea, but we bring it down to this reality. So here again we get back to UFOs. And I think that, you know, we see them as glowing lights in the sky primarily. We see spirits as glowing lights in rooms, but that may be simply the vehicle which the
Yeah, and do you think that it is it's kind of a special time right now, or the years ahead? I mean, it seems like there's this kind of information is popping up all over the place at this moment, and of course, I guess that the question I'm asking is, I guess you've heard of the infamous 2012 year and all this, and
right.
and I'm sorry, but I have to, I
Well,
find
of course you do.
oh,
Of
yeah.
course you do. We have to confront that.
Yeah, of
Because,
course.
I mean, I imagine you get as many emails every day about 2012 as I do.
I almost maybe, but I can imagine that you get quite a few more than I do. So, do you have any take on it? Do you know what it is? What does it mean to you?
First of all, we take a deep breath, and then we say, as historians, as journalists, we know that toward the last decade of every century, there is a feeling that this is the end time.
Yeah.
This is it. And then at the beginning of every century, it's, okay, something is about to happen. A new world is about to be born.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's then, first of all, as being as objective as we can, we recognize that. Then we put together in our little mental computers everything that seems to be happening now, everything that seems to be escalating. And we come to this very uneasy feeling as we see polar bears beginning to cannibalize themselves,
Yeah.
as we see the glaciers melting, as we see all of these things transforming, that we are quite likely facing some new challenges, and that there is a truth, maybe not the truth, but there is a truth to this cycle that we're facing. Now, here again,